Welcome back to Writerslift. Today we're going to be focusing on your thoracic spine. This is 12 vertebrae in the middle of your spine that tend to get the least amount of attention but be the biggest source of a lot of either low back or neck pain. So we're going to be going into a 5-minute movement routine that you could do at your desk. You could do this sitting down or standing up. I'd encourage you to try both. See what feels best for you. Notice that when you are seated, it's going to be easier to make sure that the movement is coming more from your spine. As opposed to if you're standing, you might notice there's some bailouts happening at the hips. Not necessarily a bad thing, but it might create more overall motion as opposed to motion specifically in that mid-back that we're targeting. So for now, we're gonna get in. I got a timer. I'm gonna set it for 5 minutes. Feel free to move with me. I'm gonna talk throughout it, but otherwise, let's get rocking. So, timer is on. Let's say you just finished a Pomodori session. That's what I do when I write. So 25 minutes of writing, followed by 5 minutes of moving. And I'm starting out with a little flexion and extension of the spine. My feet are firmly on the floor. My knees are a little wide, comfortably. And now I'm trying to move up and down, or forward and backwards, through this flexion and extension chain of my spine. Now, you can add your breath to this. I like to think about inhaling as the space where my lungs are is expanding, and exhaling when it's shortening. So if you can imagine here, I'm lengthening. Inhale through the nose, exhale out the mouth. This is the sagittal plane. We want to move in all three planes. Very often we get stuck in this sagittal plane, especially when we're here. So now let's check out the frontal plane. So I'm laterally flexing. I'm going side to side. Be mindful of where your motion is occurring. You're getting a lot of motion from your lower back, a lot from your ribs, a lot from your neck. Just be aware. See, does it feel different on one side versus the other? Does one give you more freedom of motion and one do you feel a little restricted? Now, don't try to necessarily match me or anyone else. Focus on you. How does it feel? Next, let's try the transverse plane. So this is rotation. I'm going to do all of these with my head still. This is going to make sure that my cervical spine, the 7 vertebrae in my neck, aren't doing much of the real bone motion. Relatively, they have to react, but we'll save that for a different movement session that requires a little bit of explanation. But for now, I'm just rotating through. Notice my hips aren't moving. The chair isn't rotating with me. I'm just trying to turn through my torso, my ribs, and my shoulder blades. If you feel like your arms are moving a lot, if your elbows are kind of doing a lot of work, try to keep them down, move more from the ribs and the shoulders. Okay, so now we can add the same thing, but we're going to add our arms into it. So I'm going to flex forward, reach down, and then extend up. So same breath, I can exhale here, stay within a comfortable, pain-free range of motion. If you're already dealing with some semblances of pain or restriction, listen to them. Stay in a pain-free range. We can always add more later. So exhale down, inhale up. Same idea. Be mindful of where your motion is coming from and how it feels. Next, we can add into the frontal plane that same long line. So I'm really reaching through my shoulders. You can interlock your thumbs if that helps. But the idea is we want motion from your shoulder down to your hip. Ideally, you're feeling stretch or lengthening through the long side as opposed to compression in the short side. But we can work on that. Either way, for now, we're just moving. Next, rotation. I can still interlock my thumbs. Watch for the counter rotation. Especially if you're in a swivel chair, your hips might want to contribute. Keeping your head put can help prevent some extra unwanted motion. I am trying to keep my elbows straight for this one. So oftentimes what can happen is this one will start to want to bend. try to keep the arms nice and long through this rotation. Okay, so now we've gone through some spine, we've added the shoulders in. Now we can do a combination. So I'm going to start with my arms out in a T. I'm going to take my right arm over and my left arm across, and then return to the T. And then I can go left arm over and right arm across and return to a T. Still trying to move through this, listening to your body and where you're feeling. Be aware. This is going to help get your upper back moving. This can take strain and stress off of your cervical spine, your neck, or your lumbar spine, your lower back. Next, I'm going to reach down and I'm going to rotate backwards. I can just return in here, reach down off to the side, rotate backwards. I'm still looking straight ahead, and there's our 5 minutes. So far, I'm just going to finish this one up. I'll stop that. There's our 5 minutes. We got our thoracic spine moving, we got our shoulders involved, and we went through what's called a type 1 spine movement, in which we're laterally flexing one way and rotating against it. So laterally flexing left, rotating right, laterally flexing right, rotating left. And we did that in 2 different ways depending on your arms. If I go up versus down, or across versus open. So either way, just take inventory. How did this feel? And then get back to writing.